Hello everyone, I am Dr. Shivakrishna from Spark Institute, Nagaram. So, I am a faculty of chemistry for IIT, JAM and All India Central University Examination. So, about myself is I am a state ranker as well as the national ranker in the UGC CSIR examination and state level TTWRES entrance degree level entrance examination. So, today's topic is types of organic reaction. Basically, organic reactions we are going to discuss. So, in this there is a special emphasis in SN reaction, that is what nucleophilic substitution reactions. Okay. So, today's topic is the emphasis of nucleophilic substitution reactions. So, before that we will see the just introduction of the organic types of reactions. Okay. So, basically organic reactions are four different types. The first one is addition reactions, where a molecule is going to be added to the another molecule which is a starting material, resulting into the product molecule. Okay. So, the product formation is going to happen by the addition of one molecule to another to results into a new molecule. This type of organic reactions are said to be addition reactions. So, basically addition reactions will be identified by the a unsaturated molecule is going to be added to the another molecule to give a saturated or unsaturated molecule. Okay. But the identification point is unsaturated molecule. Okay. Next type of organic reaction is elimination reaction. So, in this in presence of some reagent, the part of the molecule or atoms of the molecule is going to be removed, so that a new molecule is going to form. So, this is the starting material and this will be the product. So, by the treatment of some reagent, it is going to convert into the product. Here if you can observe, there is a unsaturation in the product. So, basically identification of the elimination reaction is about the unsaturation formation or the multiple bond formation in the product. Okay. So, here if you can see, with the usage of sodium hydroxide, it is the byproducts are H2O and NaBr. So, if it is sodium hydroxide is broken into sodium plus and OH minus, the sodium plus is going to attack with the Br minus, so that it is going to form NaBr, and OH minus is going to attach with H plus, so that it is going to form H2O. The net reaction or the net eliminated product is HBr. So, here this product is formed by the elimination of one molecule, that is HBr. Okay. So, this type of reaction is said to be elimination reaction. Okay. So, if the molecule is added and converted into product, it is addition reaction. If the molecule is eliminated and converted into product, it is a elimination reaction. Okay. So, in the next type, we will be going to see the rearrangement type reactions. Okay. So, rearrangement, the name itself, arranging the molecule in a different way. The starting material will be in one arrangement. During the reaction, it is going to convert into the another arranging pattern. Okay. So, if you can observe, here a ethyl group is there, from that ethyl one methyl is shifted to this part. Okay. So, this is what replacement or rearrangement of the methyl group from one position to other position. There is no elimination, there is no addition. That type of reactions are said to be rearrangement reactions. Generally, rearrangement reactions will not have any kind of specific reagent. So, it may happen in the presence of acid catalyst or maybe in the terms of heating. Okay. So, here this molecule, if you can see, it is 1-butene, which is reacted in presence of acid catalyst, and it is converted into the 2-butene. Okay. So, this is one of the specific example for the rearrangement reaction. Okay. In the next reaction type, we are going to see the substitution. So, these are very important reactions. Substitution reactions means the replacement. Okay, replacement. So basically replacement means one atom or one part of the molecule will be going to replace with the other atom or other part. Let's say the part of this one molecule, A is the molecule and it is attached to hydrogen, and during the reaction the hydrogen is replaced with let's say bromine, so that product is going to form ABr. Okay, so if this type of reactions are happened to form the product, that kind of reactions are said to be substitution reactions. Okay, so if you go into the deep of the substitution reaction, they may be basically two types. One is ion derivated, another one is radical derivated. What I mean is, one condition is going to perform with the ions formation or ionization, and another condition is going to form with the radical formation. So the basic difference evaluated based on the bond breaking pattern. If the bond breaking is heterolytic, means unequal, let's say this carbon and bromine bond is broken into heterolytic way, means unequal. As the bromine is more electronegative, this is going to form or this is going to move towards the bromine, so that bromine is going to convert into the Br minus. If this kind of bond breaking happens, that type of said to be ionic type or ionization type. This happens basically in polar solvent. What is meant by polar solvent? Polar solvents are the solvents which will create the poles. Let's say H2O you have taken, and in H2O it is present in H plus form and OH minus form. So, but molecule is in H2O form. When it is dissociated, it is going to give two ions. These two ions are with positive pole and negative pole. Whatever the solvent or liquid which we dissolve, and in that if it is having two ions or two different poles, positive and negative poles, or there is a probability of breakage into the two poles, that kind of solvents are said to be polar solvents. So the nature of polar solvent is if you dissolve any substance or salt into the polar solvent, it is going to ionize, and that also going to form two poles or two ions. So basically it is the real life example. If you dissolve sodium chloride in water, which is a polar solvent, that is going to evolute two ions, sodium plus and chloride minus ion. Okay, if the type of solvent what we used or the bond breaking pattern, if it is heterolytic, this kind of reactions are going to happen. That kind of reactions are said to be polar substitutions. Okay, in polar substitutions there is a unequal bond breaking, so that ions are going to generate, and as well as the salt which you dissolve in the solvent will also be unequal or will also get ionized to form the ions. So this ion, negative cyanide Cn minus ion, is going to replace with the Br minus ion, so that it's going to give alkyl cyanide. So earlier it is a alkyl halide which we have taken the specific example, methyl bromide. So methyl bromide is converted into the methyl cyanide or ethane nitrile. Okay, IUPAC name is ethane nitrile. So this is converted into the cyanide by just Cn minus replacing into the bromine. Okay, in ionic way or in polar solvent. Okay, I hope you understand the first condition. In the next condition, non-polar. Let's say we have taken non-polar solvent like benzene. If you consider benzene, there is a 6 carbon atoms which each bond is similar to other. So there is no difference between the bonding patterns. So there is no movement of the electron pair, bond pair towards one side. Okay, there is no electronegativity difference, so that bond breaking will not happen in a heterolytic way. In that case, it is going to happen in homolytic fashion. Okay, homolytic fashion. So in homolytic fashion, the bonds are going to break. Let's say it is having a Cl2 molecule where 2 electrons of the bond pair is present between the 2 chlorine atoms. This is going to break up into the equal distributed dissociation. Okay, so that 2 radicals are going to form. Okay, these radicals are highly reactive. Unlike the ions formation, there is no charge. Okay, charge is 0. Okay, if it is ions, there might be positive charge, there might be negative charge, but here it is 0 charge but highly reactive species. These species will be going to attack with the methane molecule and will be going to break the, this is what methane, will be going to break the CH bond into the equal dissociation. Okay, because this is not charged, neither carbon gets attracted nor hydrogen gets attracted. So it is highly reactive, so that it will supply the energy to break this bond. So it's going to form a methyl radical as well as the hydrogen radical. Okay, after the formation of methyl radical and hydrogen radical will be little faster because of the smaller size, so that it's going to bind up with the Cl radical, one Cl radical, so that it is going to form HCl, and this reaction will be in chain fashion, so that chain propagation reaction will be going to happen. I am not going to very detail in that because my emphasis is on nucleophilic substitution reaction, just giving the overall idea of the non-polar substitution, that is radical substitutions. Okay, so this methyl, whatever the radical that is formed, again going to react with the another chloride radical, so that it is going to form methyl chloride. So if you consider overall molecular exchange or replacement, hydrogen is exchanged with or replaced with chlorine. So this kind of reaction is said to be substitution. Okay, so substitution reactions are basically replacement reaction. If they are present in the polar solvent, they are going to happen in the ionization form, or ionic intermediates are going to generate. If they happen in the non-polar solvent, only radicals are going to generate, so that radicals are going to replace with the another radical. So this kind of reactions are generally said to be free radical substitution reactions. Okay, free radical substitution reaction, these are polar type substitutions. In that we will be going to see the electrophilic substitution as well as the nucleophilic substitution. So if you consider electrophilic and nucleophilic, so basically in the polar solvent, this is going to be positive, this is going to be negative. Okay, so this negative ion is going to replace it with the another negative ion, that is what bromide. So a negative ion is going to replace with the negative ion. That kind of negative substitutions are nucleophilic substitution. So why this is called nucleophile is this is a negative species, and if you consider a positive, like let's say here it is formed methyl carbocation. Okay, methyl carbocation, that is going to attracted by the Cn minus. Okay, so this is a negative species and going to attract the positive species. How this positive species is generated and positive charge is generated? Because of the nuclear attraction or nuclear charge. So where the Cn minus is attracted by, it is attracted by the nuclear charge. The species which is going to attract the nuclear charge or the positive ions are said to be nucleophiles. So these are the simple nucleus lovers. Okay, so nucleophiles means nucleus loving species, phile means loving species. So these will be attracted by the positive ions. So what could be the nature of the nucleophile? It will be negative, that's why it is going to attracted by the positive. Okay, similarly if you consider electrophile, let's say K plus is generated and it will be going to attract the Br minus. As there is a opposite charge, mutual attractions will be there. These are the species or positive species which will be going to attract the negative species. So how this negative charge is generated? Because of the excessive electrons charge is negative. So the positive species which is going to attract the electron is said to be electrophile and indicated with E place, capital E place, and nucleophile will be indicated with Nu minus. Okay, so the charge is negative and it's going to attract the positive, that's why it is nucleophile, nucleus lovers, and the charge is positive, it's going to attract the electrons, that's why it is electrophile or electron lovers. Okay, so the substitution reactions in the electrophilic substitution reactions, the electrophile is going to replace. Okay, whereas in nucleophilic substitution, nucleophile is going to replace. This is what the specific example of nucleophilic substitution reaction. So that Cn minus nucleophile is going to replace the bromide ion. Okay, so this is what basic introduction of the substitution reactions and types of reactions. Okay, I hope you understand the introductions of substitution and types of reactions. So nucleophilic substitution reactions, basically before entering to the nucleophilic substitution reaction, I would like to show one daily example. So this is the game of musical chair. I hope all the students might have played this game in their childhood. So what is musical chair game? Generally people will run according to the music. Once the music is stopped, they will be going to take the seat. Okay, this is what the game rules. Okay, so during the chair occupation there will be two conditions. The first condition will be if the chair is already available, because the person was moved forward to the chair, so that the second person can directly accommodate or can directly take up, or there would be a competition, direct clashing with two persons, so that the stronger one will pull or stronger one will be going to forcefully pushing the other, so that one can fall down and other can occupy. Okay, so these are the two conditions. In the first condition, it is going to understand that very simple, the chair is occupied or the position where they want to sit is occupied, and in the second there is a competition, there is a mutual forceful pushing, so that whoever is the strong will be going to replace. Okay, so this is the perfect example for the SN1 and this is the perfect example for the SN2. If you go in detail, you will be going to understand this first person is what already bromide ion. Okay, we will be going to see in the detail of the mechanism. So bromide is leaving and one nucleophile is leaving, another nucleophile is taking place where the available position is present. Okay, and in the second condition, one nucleophile is not leaving, the other nucleophile trying to enter by pushing the nucleophile that is already present. Okay, these are the two conditions. So we will see the mechanism and you will be going to understand how similarly it is going to happen in the real life. Okay, after that we will come back to this slide and you will be going to understand in detail. Okay. Okay, so nucleophilic substitution reaction. So where the nucleophile is going to replace with the other nucleophile, that kind of reactions are said to be nucleophilic substitution reaction. So all the students who are entered into intermediate or they went for the IITs and everything coachings, they might have heard many a times SN1 and SN2. This could be the most difficult reactions in the organic chemistry, but I will say that you just erase them for this moment and just listen this. You will be going to understand such a way that you will never confuse. Okay, this is what my guarantee. Okay, so the SN1 and SN2 are not the paths that already defined by a reaction. Okay, so don't think that the chemical entity will be going to directly into the SN1 or directly going to SN2. you need to derive or you need to observe the condition of the stability as well as the reactivity. Okay, these are the two conditions that going to govern whether the reaction is going to move in the SN1 or SN2. So don't directly estimate, it could be SN1, it could be SN2. Okay, just follow the stability pattern and reactivity pattern. You will be going to understand finally what could be the reaction condition. Okay, so basically when it is a starting material exposed to the nucleophile is going to replace, so that the other nucleophile is going to attach, so that product is formed. Okay, I am taking a specific example of tertiary butyl bromide. Okay, this is alkyl halide. So these are the methyl group. If I write or if I didn't write, this is indicates the methyl group. Okay, where if I treat with OH minus, okay, there will be the two conditions. Either the OH minus is very much reactive or it might be the lazy one. Two conditions. The reagent might be very reactive or might be the lazy one. Okay, so condition 1, reactive or highly reactive. This I call, this is a nucleophile which is highly reactive, will be called as a strong nucleophile. So it might be strong, or there is a lazy which is weak. Okay, here I am only taking the condition of nucleophile, that is what reactivity term. Okay, so in the first condition I am taking strong nucleophile, that is highly reactive nucleophile. So highly reactive species will not wait that this bond is going to break so that it can accommodate the methyl's carbon. Okay, and it's going to give the product, because it is highly reactive, it will not wait. So it is directly attack the molecule and trying to replace. Okay, so condition 1. But during this attacking, if you can observe, the OH minus is a negative one, and the bromine, if you take, this is going to have 3 lone pairs. Okay, which is highly electron excess species, and with the high electronegative, this bond is going to move towards the bromine, which is also increasing the electron density. So finally what's going to happen, this is a electron excess species and this is a electron excess species. The electron excess species always will consider with negative type. Okay, so negative and negative will be going to repulse highly, and bromine is larger in size, so that it will not allow the OH minus to enter from its own side or its own face, so that this attacking will be difficult. Now there will be another scope of attacking from the back side of the bromine. Okay, from the back side of the bromine, as the bromine is going to hinder the attacking of the OH minus. So if it is back side of the bromine is going to leave because of the forceful pushing of the OH minus that is entering into the molecule, so that the resulting molecule will be tertiary butyl alcohol in this way. Okay, so tertiary butyl alcohol. Okay, so tertiary butyl alcohol, if it is formed, this will be attack, this will be the resulting of the OH minus into the back side attack. Okay, not front side, back side, only one side attack is possible. Okay, so in the condition 2, if the nucleophile is lazy, it's not going to react. The starting material keep on waiting and it's not going to react. So that what will be going to happen, as the reaction needs to perform, and these are the reagents that are inside the one reaction system, so they must react. So the bromine minus of the methyl bromide now readily going to eliminate. Okay, so that in the first step it's going to give a carbocation. Okay, this is what tertiary butyl carbocation, these are the 3 methyl groups. Okay, so because of the elimination type, as unless the alkyl bromide itself reacted, OH minus is not reacted because of the laziness or because of the weakness. So bromide minus is eliminated, so that alkyl carbocation is generated. Now this alkyl carbocation is positive. If earlier it was a neutral one, but OH minus is negative one, which will not attract much and which will not insist the OH minus to react very much. Now the condition is different. So scenario has got changed. So bromine is eliminated and is got positive charge. Now it will be going to insist or attract a lot, so that OH minus will be going to attack in the next step, so that alcohol is going to form. But during this, you going to have a carbocation which is in sp2 hybridization, which is planar, okay, which is planar. So a planar molecule can be attacked from the above side and from the below side, okay, from the above side as well as from the below side. You can't say that it is going to happen in only one direction, because there is a possibility, 50% probability of attacking from the above side, 50% possibility of attacking below side. So resulting molecule will be in two types, so that OH minus can be attacked from the above side. If I write above side, I can write in the thick form, so it is indicating that OH is in above the plane. If I write below the plane, it is dotted one, okay, dotted. So if the molecule that is generated, these two molecules, if they are not chiral, they are going to give only one product. If they are chiral, they are going to give two different products. They are said to be enantiomers. So what is meant by enantiomers are, if you consider the two hands, so these two hands are much similar, but if you keep a mirror in between these two hands, exactly my left hand is going to reflect with the right hand, okay. If such type of molecules which are mirror images to each other and very similar to each other, they are said to be enantiomers. But if you place one among the other, so I am taking this, exactly these are the two molecules, if I place one among the other, this is not possible. This condition is said to be non-superimposable. If you impose one molecule to the other, if they are non-superimposable, not possible to impose one on the other, they are said to be non-superimposable. But they are mirror images. If I keep the mirror for this hand, it will be going to reflect exactly like this. So the molecules which are mirror images but non-superimposable are said to be enantiomers, okay. So if this is going to happen if the carbon having 4 different attachments, 4 different groups to the carbon atom, so that it is going to be chiral, and that chiral center is going to give enantiomers. But in first condition, or where the strong nucleophile was present, there will be only one product, that is inverted product. What is meant by inverted? Which was reverse. Earlier the bromine was this side, let's say it is a down side, and the OH must attack from the upper side, okay. That is what the difference, okay. So now you understand the two scenarios of reactivity of nucleophile. So let's go back to the first condition. In the first condition, if I try to change the speed of the reaction, so what do I need to do? I need to do only the bromide ion, alkyl bromide, if I increase, let's say initially it was 50 molecules and attacking with the 50 OH minus, so that in 5 minutes it's going to give 50 products, okay, 50 products. So if I want to increase the speed of the reaction, if I increase the OH minus into the 100, there will be a double probability of attacking the OH minus to the starting material, so that double speed is going to happen. So the reaction speed increases, which is nothing but rate increases by the increasing in the concentration or number of molecules of the OH minus. At the same time, if I increase the starting material from 50 to 100, this is also going to give the same probability. These 50 molecules, now I am keeping the constant of the concentration of the OH minus, which is 50. These 50 molecules will be attacked by the 100 molecules of the starting material, that also increase the speed of the reaction, okay. So these are the two conditions, are two variables that going to change the reaction. So the rate of the condition number 1, rate is proportional to the starting material concentration as well as the OH minus concentration, that is what the reagent concentration. So the reaction where the concentration of the two molecules is going to vary the rate, that kind of reactions are said to be bimolecular reactions. Okay, bimolecular reactions. So in brief, if I write, this is a nucleophilic substitution reaction where two molecules of the reacting partners will be defining the rate. So that's why it is said to be SN2, nucleophilic substitution reaction bimolecular. Okay, let's say in condition number 1, let's say this is the slow step, means 99% of the time is consumed for the formation of only this intermediate, or only the first step is going to take up the longest time, or major time gap of the time interval of the reaction. So in that case, the reaction will be going to happen only just based on the concentration of the starting material where the weak nucleophile is present. So if I increase the number of starting material molecules, there will be a probability of number of intermediate generation, and which increases the rate of the reaction, so that availability of the intermediate will be increased, so that OH minus is going to attack. So if I go into deep, so this attacking reaction will take only 1 minute, and this reaction will be going to take 99 minutes. If I increase the time, if I increase the concentration, the time is going to decrease because of the availability of the molecule is going to be more, so that 100 molecules of the intermediate will be formed in just in 50 minutes. But if I increase the OH minus concentration, there will not be much change, because earlier it was taking only 1 minute, now it may be into 0.5. When compared to 100 minutes to 50 and compared to 1 to 0.5 minutes, there is no much change. So that's why this is not considered into slow step or rate determining step, where the rate is depends on the such kind of steps. Okay, so in the first step it is the slow step, always the slow step will be the rate determining step. So this will be the rate determining step. Okay, formation of the intermediate or formation of the carbocation. So in condition number 2, the rate is only dependent on the starting material concentration. So how many molecules are influencing the rate? Only one molecule. That is what unimolecular reaction. So the reaction where nucleophilic substitution happens and it is only unimolecular, one molecular dependent, that is said to be SN1. I hope now you got the conclusion how the SN1 and SN2 are going to happen. Okay, so these are not basically empirical type, it depends on the mechanism and it depends on the stability. Here molecular stability, starting material stability is high. If it is high, it will not be going to break up the carbon and bromide bond. Okay, if the molecular stability is low, it will be going to break up and going to form the carbocation. So these are the two conditions that are governed by the stability. As well as the reactivity point of view, if you consider the OH minus, if it is strong nucleophile or highly reactive, it will not allow the starting material to react itself. So before that eliminating of the bromide ion, it is going to replace the OH, so that alcohol is generated just by the inverted product, by the attacking of the strong nucleophile. Okay, so according to mechanism or according to stability, you must decide whether SN1 or whether SN2. Okay, so we will see in the details of the stability and reactivity patterns. Okay, now we will go back to the chair game, musical chair game, and now if you can observe the reaction pattern, you will be going to match the conditions to the real life example. Okay, so let's say SN1 and SN2. Now this is what the bromide ion which left, and this is what the OH minus which are going to attack in the SN1 pattern. In the SN1 pattern, molecule is more reactive and OH minus is little slower when compared to the bromide, so alkyl halide. Okay, so it will wait or it will react slowly before, so that alkyl bromide will be converted into carbocation. So this place is carbocation. Now this place will be attacked by the OH minus from the, as this is only one direction, there will be two direction for the molecule from the above and below, so that it is going to give two products. Okay, if they are variable. If they are not variable, only one product. Okay, so I hope now you got the picture of the reaction. Okay, now in SN2 condition, this is what the bromide ion which is not ready to, not willing to leave, but this is what the OH minus ion which is very much reactive, and he pushed the bromide ion which occupied the carbon center of the tertiary butyl, so that the bromide must have to leave now, resulting into the final product. Okay, so I hope you understand the SN1 and SN2 with realistic examples. Okay, now we will see the factors are stability and dependencies and reactivities in detail. So factors affecting the or influencing the SN1 and SN2. These are the hinting points, or these are the hints where you will be going to identify whether the given reaction will be converted into the SN1 pattern or SN2 pattern. Based on these conditions only, you must need to change the type of the reaction mechanism, okay, and the product as well. So basically solvent, we have discussed the two types of the solvents, that is what polar as well as the non-polar. What is polar solvents? The polar solvents will initiate the ionization of the reagents as well as the products. If I consider NaCN in the earlier example, NaCN was a reagent, and let's say I have taken the H2O as a liquid which is used for the dissolving the starting material and the product. This H2O is said to be solvent, and the solvent is polar because it can form H plus as well as the OH minus. So H2O is a polar solvent which will initiates or which will increases the ionization of sodium plus and bromide minus, or let's say KBr also in the same way. Okay, so that Cn minus will be going to generate, that will be going to attack the alkyl halide. Okay, this is what the reagent pattern. But whereas starting material, if I consider CBr bond or alkyl halide bond, if I take polar solvent, they will also influence the CBr bond, and it will going to break in unequal way, that is what heterolytic fashion. So this bond breaking is going to happen in a heterolytic fashion. Br minus is going to generate, so that what will be happening in the starting material, it will be going to generate tertiary butyl carbocation. So once the carbocation is generated, it is what SN1 reaction. So the polar solvents are going to increase the dissociation into the heterolytic way, so that polarization or two poles generation will readily support the carbocation generation, so that it will be going to form in SN1 pattern. Okay, whereas if it is non-polar, they will not break this bond. Until unless they will not break this bond, CBr is connected and it will be attacked by the OH minus if it is more reactive, so that SN2 reaction is going to happen. Okay, SN2 reaction is going to happen. So this is what polar solvent. For example, H2O, acetic acid, ethyl alcohol, these are the polar solvents. Okay, for non-polar solvent, benzene, toluene, petrol, that is what hexane, these are the non-polar solvents. Okay, basically aliphatic systems are aliphatic hydrocarbons and non-substituted aromatic hydrocarbons are also non-polar solvent, which will not polarize the bond. Okay, which will not polarize the bond. Okay, next condition, nucleophile. So our story begin with the nucleophile only. One condition for the nucleophile is strong, that is what highly reactive. The other condition is weak or lazy. Okay, so I hope you understand this point. If it is strong, it will be going to attack the starting material before the leaving group, that is what bromine is left, okay, so that it is only replacement in the forceful way, that is what SN2, okay. If it is weak nucleophile, they will wait until unless the carbon bromide bond is going to break, okay, carbon bromide bond is going to break and carbocation is going to generate. After that the weak nucleophile will attack. So it is a condition of SN1, okay. Next, leaving group. What is meant by leaving group is if you consider alkyl halide, during this reaction bromine is leaving as a bromide ion, Br minus. So the species or the element or the part of the molecule that is eliminating or that is leaving is said to be leaving group. So if this bond is very much polarized or towards one side and bromine is readily very much ready to leave the molecule, so that what is going to happen, carbocation generation will be more, so that SN1 type reactions are more readily happening. So leaving group is readily leavable, carbocation generation is going to happen, so that SN1 type is going to form, okay. Whereas the leaving group is not much readily leavable, SN2 will be going to form, okay. But here is a condition for the increase of the speed in the nucleophilic substitution reaction. If it is a good leaving group, always the nucleophilic substitution reaction speed is going to increase. It might be SN1 or it might be SN2. This is very much important point for the competitive exams, okay. So if it is SN1 or SN2, if it is leaving group tendency is more, the reaction speed is going to increase even in SN1, even in SN2. It's not that SN2 reaction is going to become slow if the leaving group is very much readily leavable. It's not like that, okay. So leaving group, if it is good, it's going to be increase the nucleophilic substitution reaction speed, but it is more tending towards the SN1 type, more tending towards the SN1 type, but not SN2 type, okay. So next condition, stability of the carbocation or substrate, okay. If I take a tertiary alkyl halide and secondary alkyl halide and primary alkyl halide, so these two are if you consider tertiary, secondary and primary, okay. So the primary alkyl halide is going to give primary carbocation which is less stable, and if you consider secondary carbocation is more stable and tertiary carbocation even more stable. So the SN1 reaction tendency in the tertiary alkyl halide will be more, okay, and in the primary alkyl halide will be less, okay. So if it is SN2, it will be reversed, so that stable carbocation will not generate and reaction will not be in the polarized way, so that SN2 is going to perform. So tertiary alkyl halide more towards the SN1, primary alkyl halide more towards the SN2. What about the secondary? It depends on the not only substrate, it depends on the electrostatic condition, that is what nucleophiles, okay. Nucleophiles and solvents, if they are polar they are going to be SN1, if they are non-polar the secondary alkyl halide will be going to into SN2, or if it is strong nucleophile it is going to be SN2, if it is weak nucleophile it is going to be SN1, okay. So this is about the nucleophilic substitution reaction. So I hope you understand, and if you like this session, I will be going to continue in the next session with another type of reactions in deep. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.